Alright, so here are my notes. Alright, so Alexa, set an alarm for 20 minutes.
20-minute alarm set for 8:26 p.m.
Okay, so today I'm going to talk to you about psychology, what it is, the different theories, or a few different theories, and ideas and concepts about psychology. So first things first, thank you for being here. I really appreciate it. Um, so the first thing I'm going to do is define psychology. So psychology is the scientific study of the mind and behavior. So when people go through different things um, that we can't see that's in the mind, that is the study of that. Um, so when people have mental illnesses, like schizophrenia, bipolar, um, things like that, anxiety, that's the study of. Um, and it explores how people think. Um, like, have you ever um, sat with someone or spoke with someone that you listen to them talk and then you think, you really think like that?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's kind of, they study that. Also, it explores how people feel. So, if you can think about ever being offended by something that someone said, or maybe something that someone did, like yesterday,
Mm-hmm.
it's the study of that, what triggered you to feel that way, or what made you feel that way. And also, it highlights and it explores how people act. What makes people do the things that they do? For instance, like killers and serial killers. Why do they kill? Like, what made them click?
Mm-hmm.
You know. Also, it explores the consciousness and unconsciousness. So, consciousness being where someone is fully aware of their actions, their words, and how they feel. And then unconsciousness is where, have you ever did something and you're like, I don't know why I did that. That. And like, sometimes you may feel a certain way, but you don't understand why you feel that way. Well, psychology is, you know, it goes, that is for to be explained by psychology. Also, so the people who study psychology and your psyche, they're called psychologists. Um, they study the mind, they study your actions, your behaviors, and what makes you do the things that you do. Developmental psychology. Developmental psychology is a branch of psychology that studies how individuals grow and change and how they adapt through their lifespan. So, when you start out as a little kid, a baby, you know, you goo goo gaga, and you develop into a toddler, like you're 3, and then your little personality starts to develop, and then you're 7 and you're ready to start school, and so you interact with friends and teachers and parents, and that helps to start to develop who you are or who you will become. So that the developmental psychology explores physical, cognitive, emotional, and social development from birth until death. So again, starts from when you're young and it goes for life. Because you're not the same person um, when you're 10 as you will be when you're 30.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So, also it explores factors such as biological, genetics, psychological, social, and cultural influences. So with that being said, biological factors. That would be, to me, it means things like things that you inherit from your parents or from your grandparents or a relative. Um, like autism. Autism is an inherited um, disorder. Yeah, biological disorder. As well as it's genetic. Also, people who have like schizophrenia and stuff like that, that is sometimes developed, well, a lot of times developed, passed down from your parent or a relative, and it studies that. Also, social. So who you're around, your environment, things that you're exposed to, like for instance, people who grow up in an affluent area or with affluent parents, you can tell that a lot of times by how they are as they develop and grow. They also receive a lot of nurturing too. And then cultural influences. So they study that because different cultures go through different things. So what may be okay in one culture may not be okay in the next culture. So for an example, in a lot of cultures, being homosexual or gay is, accepted, but in the African American culture, it's not really accepted as much as it is in the other cultures. So the developmental part of that, sometimes I think it can stunt the growth and development of a person who does not have support or that doesn't have like acceptance from their culture. Also, so the people who study developmental psychology, they're developmental psychologists, and they aim to describe and explain and optimize human development. So they want to find out the reason. What's the reason behind this action, or what's the reason that this person may not be accepted in this community, or things like that. Also, I wanted to talk about personality theories and adult development. This explores how personality evolves and adapts throughout life. So, like I was saying before, when you're 3 years old, you don't have the same personality as you would when you're 17. And your personality continues to evolve throughout life, because that's a part of maturing as well. Also, there are behavior theories. B.F. Skinner and John Watson, they emphasize the role of environmental influences in learning and shaping personalities. So, they basically, what that means is, sometimes little boys are told not to cry when they get hurt, or their feelings are hurt, or they fall down. They're told to be strong, keep it together. Real men don't cry. And I think that could be further from the truth, because those boys, they grow up to be men who think it's not okay to cry, they bottle and hold everything in, and then when they reach a breaking point, they explode. And they turn into something that they may not have been had they been nurtured or in a different type of environment. Um, Also, there's someone by the name of Arnett. It's the Arnett's theory called emerging adulthood. It emphasizes the dynamic nature of adult life stages. So, so um, when you go through life, of course, you start at birth, and then you go through toddlerhood, and then you go to school age, and then from school age, you go into adolescence, and then teens, and young adulthood. From young adulthood, you go to midlife, and then old adulthood, and then death. And do you have any questions? Did anything stick out to you? Is there something that you wanted to maybe dive deeper into?
Sure. As far as like the you were mentioning the behavioral part, like could you like elaborate on that? Like as far as the study of that and like how it can help people or like what does it focus on?
Okay, so yeah, it just depends on how soon help is received, because I can give an example of it's not funny, but what I have noticed is children who have certain behavior problems as kids, they grow up to be something serious in the adulthood. I like to take a look at serial killers a lot because they have had certain behaviors that signs were there that they were going to do something terrible. But I think as time has gone on, we've started to pay attention more to, the different behaviors and signs and things like that. Now, there are behaviors that are good behaviors. When children receive adequate support, care, attention, love, and things like that, most of the time, they grow up to be adults who are able to sustain relationships. They have healthy relationships, and they also have healthy attachment styles. So that plays, a lot of part in that, the behaviors and stuff like that.
So do you think that people are born with these illnesses, or they develop over time, or does it just vary?
I think it's both. I think things like schizophrenia, bipolar, schizoid affective disorder, things like that. Like there are classes to each, type of disorder. So the more serious ones, and I'm not trying to say one is greater than the other, but in fact, some of them are heavier than the other. Like anxiety is bad, but I think schizophrenia is worse than anxiety. But I do think, back to your question, I do think that it's both. I think those type of disorders, the heavier ones, are inherited. I think a person's experiences in life can contribute to them developing certain disorders. Like I know people who post-COVID, they were outgoing, social, they love to travel, they love to do things. But once we were all shut in and sheltered and everything during COVID for those 4 years, they became isolated, introverted, they developed anxiety, they developed, um, you know, paranoia and social disorders and things like that. So, in fact, I do think it's both.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, you know, you just have to kind of pay attention to yourself and see professionals. So that's why I think psychologists and psychiatrists, psychology period, I think is important. Mental health period is very important because there can be things that are going on with you and you're wondering like, what's going on with me? Why don't I want to be bothered with anybody? Or why am I feeling like I'm lazy or I don't want to do anything? When it's really not that you're lazy, you're probably depressed, you know? So, depression is another one that's, it's serious. And I think sometimes people don't acknowledge it like it should be because it's very serious.
And then, like, a lot of people, like, of the previous generation were raised not to go to psychiatrists or not to go to therapy or just trying to handle the situations on their own at home. And so I believe that this newer generation is the generation that's going to be the one that, takes it a little more serious, takes mental health a little bit more serious.
I totally agree with you because it's already started. Because, back, I know when I was younger, if I was crying or if I was sad or, there wasn't anyone around me and I was moping, that I was just looked at as, you're just lazy or, but now you can, I think people are more aware of mental health and how important it is, and they're acting accordingly. Jobs, even employers, are taking things like that into consideration, and they're encouraging employees to take time off for their mental issues and things like that. Yeah, because that's really important. I mean, a person could be fine one day. If you're a mother, you have kids, you're working, you're raising the kids, you have a husband, you're in school maybe, you're trying to get your career to the next level, and you have all this stress, and you just, one day you can't take it anymore, and it just boils over. I think that, that needs to come to an end because that's how people end up doing things to their kids,
Yeah.
Now, psychology also, even though, it highlights what people may look at as negativity as far as like the illnesses and things, there's also some good things about it too, because it helps a lot of people. The study of the human mind helps people to navigate. It helps people to get better. There's medicines out there that people can take to get better or to, make the symptoms bearable. So there's so many other good things about it. And once a person, the first step is setting the appointment to get some help. So, that's very, very important, and I can't wait to make a difference.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think you would do a good job at it too.
Yeah.
Because you're a listener, you're a good listener, and you know how to break things down, you know how to, be non-judgmental and just let someone articulate how they feel and then, say what you have to say. So I think you'll do really good with that.
I really hope so. Alexa, how much time do I have left on my timer?
There are no timers set. You have one alarm going off in 13 seconds.
Okay, well, there's the conversation, and I hope you enjoyed it.